What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Thursday? Austin Stanley and Twin City Sam up there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, as the Titans and Vikings joint practices got off to a interesting start yesterday, and Treylon Burks' injury became the talk of the day. And so we will have all of the reaction. And Sam was there. So we'll find out what Sam's perspective in his situation and how he watched the Treylon Burks injury as well. Because that was a massive deal that we all were trying to hold our breath with going out on Titans practice and not really knowing what all happened and being concerned about one of the Titans' best players, and that is Treylon Burks, second-year wide receiver. We did get the update fairly quickly as Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network had that sometime yesterday evening, so we'll discuss that. We'll go through all of it. We'll play the video that a fan from the Vikings got from the stands of Vikings practice yesterday and really figure out what was the level of freak out that everybody was at some point throughout the day. We'll talk a lot about Treylon Burks' injury, the impact that it's going to have on this Titans team over the next month or so as well, and then a potential jinx that could or could not be my fault. We'll let you guys decide that as well. And then, well, who was the best quarterback on the field yesterday? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to have a conversation about that with several quarterbacks on the practice field with those two teams, Titans and Vikings. And Twin City Sam did not bring the magic bucket to Minneapolis, so we will have a different type of end-of-show segment to see what Sam has been doing up there in his couple of nights. He's got one more night after today's practice. But Sam, welcome in. Hope your Minnesota trip has continued to be a good one.
Yeah, we're rolling. We avoided disaster, as you saw in the thumbnail there, and but we're chugging along. We're ready for day 2 of joint practices, ready for a lot more coverage and exciting things to keep an eye on between the Titans and Vikings, and ready to break down everything that went on yesterday for kind of a chaotic practice and a very busy practice. So ready to go here this morning. And if you guys are with us, make sure you share the show and get more people involved, get more people in on this conversation as we break down the Treylon Burks injury, what exactly I saw happen, and every other note from practice that you need from Titans and Vikings joint practices. Share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, that's the share button in the bottom right. If you're watching on YouTube, that's sending the YouTube link to a friend or a group chat, or tweeting it out or retweeting us at A to Z Sports on Twitter. However it is that you're consuming, make sure you try and get somebody else involved and grow the A to Z Sports family. That's the best way to support us here on a beautiful, let me check it, Thursday morning. It's a Thursday morning here in Minnesota.
I thought you were about to check the weather there in Minnesota that you can maybe share later on. But all right, let's get it going officially. Welcome to the A to Z Sports. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Welcome in the A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Twin City Sam Phelan up there in Minneapolis, Minnesota for Titans Vikings joint practices. We are A to Z Sports, Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Link to the show on Twitter, X, segment by segment. Also hit us up on TikTok, Instagram, and Threads as they more Titans content consistently going out there. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Like our friends at Wilson County Hyundai, wilsoncountyhyundai.com is where to go. Make them a part of your new car buying process, and check them out in Lebanon at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. That means better coverage rates and service at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, keeping us all safe online. Aura.com/ATOZ is where to go for a 2-week free trial to get rid of data brokers from your life. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations in the mid-state, Columbia, Murfreesboro, Franklin, online at KrebsKubota.com. So, Sam, I did see we had a question. You already favorited that in the comments. We'll get to that here momentarily. I guess we'll just do it now. Nick asked, will there be a Bone and Joint segment later today? Yes. Our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute, we've already getting ready for that. So right before Sam goes to practice today, we will talk with one of the experts at the Bone and Joint Institute, Dave Kempfert, who is their lead physical therapist there at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin, to learn about the Treylon Burks injury, that is in fact an LCL sprain. We got that from Ian Rappaport last night from the NFL Network. So here's Rappaport's report right there. Treylon Burks, an LCL sprain during practice today. Sources say after the MRI, this is good news as Burks should only be missing a few weeks. A scare, but a solid result. So Sam, before we go any further, here is the video of Treylon Burks' injury at Titans Vikings joint practice on Wednesday. You kind of take it from here because you were there. So what was your perspective in watching that injury in with your own two eyes? And we all saw the video, which, we'll play several times here, but Sam, what was your perspective on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was during 11-on-11 period, Ryan Tannehill's second series, the final play of the starters being out there for that section of 11-on-11. You see Tannehill obviously hits Treylon deep, beat his guy, went from highest of highs to the lowest of lows real quick for the Titans as we're sitting there trying to, look for some exciting things to report back to the fans back at home in Nashville. And, it went from I was halfway typing out my Ryan Tannehill finds Treylon Burks for the long touchdown tweet when I see Treylon start grabbing at his leg. And that video actually cuts off a little bit early. He went back down to the ground after that and then got helped up, I believe, by Kyle Phillips, who was down there with him. Right. When he did that, very clearly upset, took his helmet, slammed his helmet down, was not happy, and then had some trainers walk out and run out to him where he was helped off the field. He went out the back of the end zone in between where the two fields connect, like where the end zones back up to each other. And so he got helped off, not putting any weight on his leg. He was just hopping on his right leg. And so you see that, you see a guy go down, you see a guy that frustrated, and you see him not putting any pressure on his leg. You think the worst a lot of the time. And he originally had waved off the cart, but then, was plopped back down on the cart. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins all came over to console Treylon while he sat there with his hands on his head. And then Rand Carthon went over there as well and was talking to his wideout, who was then carted off the field and whisked away in kind of a blur. It was real quick. I know you had kind of texted me, like, what was the reaction and the feeling in practice? But at the time, there were two different fields with two different 11-on-11 periods going on. Right. And while all this is happening, Will Levis has already taken the field and is running 11-on-11. So people are kind of trying to split their attention. I missed the entire set of Will Levis reps moving down to see what was going on with Treylon. So practice didn't slow down at all. Practice didn't stop at all. And then as the cart came off, I had noted, it kind of drove right past us. And Paul Kaharski pointed out to me that Treylon was holding underneath his left calf, almost like right behind his left knee to his left calf areas where he was holding up. So immediately we kind of had ruled out the idea of ACL, anything on like the front of the knee. But I thought that meniscus was in play. I thought MCL could potentially be in play, or, whatever it could be, calf strain. And for a while, very scary, but all things considered, probably pretty good news.
Yeah, and so David Brown says sources, but nobody officially from the Titans organization has confirmed this. David, I don't know if you're new here, but nobody from the Tennessee Titans organization is ever really going to confirm an injury when they're not binded by a CBA from the NFL to disclose injury news.
All right. Also, I mean, this is coming from the Titans organization.
Yeah, where do you think that's where do you think NFL media employee Ian Rappaport is getting his information from?
Ian Rappaport is getting this from the Titans. So this is, the reason Rapp is so reliable, the reason everybody, he's one of the kings of the scoop game is because of his connections within the organization. So while the Titans may not have publicly addressed the diagnosis on Treylon Burks. That is where that is coming from Rap Sheet, no doubt.
Right. And so I want to play the video again because I've gotten several comments that I wanted to share about this because the video, let's play it, 17 seconds of Treylon Burks' practice injury. I hate playing injury videos, but luckily this was like far enough away where there's nothing crazy there. But here is the Burks injury from yesterday. Several comments from you guys. Ronnie saying he looked pissed. Definitely looked angry with what was going on there. And
look, it cut out before where
he got really mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was thinking this because I learned yesterday, Treylon Burks, and I guess remembered yesterday, Treylon Burks tore his ACL in his left knee in high school. And so, if you have another knee injury to an injury that's already had a significant knee injury, you're going to be extra mad. All right, Den says he wasn't even touched. And Jonathan says, are they on turf or grass? And saying it looked like it's turf outside on the practice field. Am I correct?
I think so.
Based on the one-on-one videos that you've posted, I'm pretty sure it's turf.
I have a hard time paying that much attention to it nowadays. They all feel the same to me. Like they're all kind of similar. So maybe that'll be on my agenda as soon as I get out there today. I'll reach down.
I'm pretty sure it's turf.
It's probably some sort of like of the hybrid turf that has some of the same grass-like qualities.
Titans Kyle says it was how he straight leg landed with his upper body twisted to make the catch. I think it was also that or a potential buckle or some goofy landing when he was kind of tumbling towards the ground after making the catch, and definitely a scare, right? So look, good throw, hell of a catch, was able to beat the defender, smoked the defender on the way to a big touchdown. And with Ian Rappaport saying a LCL sprain is the injury, according to his sources. Good news, Burke should only miss a few weeks, a scare, but a solid result considering. So Sam, we're going to talk a little bit about how this impacts the Titans offense, but we want to get the chat involved with the emotion, the roller coaster of yesterday. So the first question we're going to ask you guys, what was your level of freak out yesterday on a 1 through 10 scale before you learned about it was just a sprain? So what was your level of freak out before the Treylon Burks news came out that it was just a sprain on a 1 through 10, 10 being, oh my God, red alert, this thing's about to blow up. But what was your level of freak out? We'll get to all of your comments here. But first, hey, the Bone and Joint Institute, they are the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And they're awesome because we're going to talk later this morning, 11:30 a.m. Central Time is when that's going to happen, to Dave Kempfert, the lead physical therapist there at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin, about what an LCL sprain is, how long it's going to keep Treylon Burks out, the type of rehab, what does this mean for a wide receiver, and really, how does this impact him going into year 2 that we have such high hopes for? So that is a Doc Talk segment coming up with the Bone and Joint Institute, Dave Kempfert, their lead physical therapist, at 11:30 a.m. Central Time. So just about 3 hours from right now, too. So make sure you check that out. But the Bone and Joint Institute, that's where you need to go whenever an injury occurs in your life. Whatever happens in life, injuries happen. You need to make sure you know who you can trust. boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. You sign up with the king of sportsbooks and you get a second chance to win big, even if your first bet loses, up to $1,000 in the form of a bonus bet. That's why every game and every play mean more and why we love BetMGM. Sign up with the bonus code ATOZ Sports at BetMGM.com today.
All right, so Sam, the question we're asking everybody in the chat, what was your level of freak out on a 1 through 10 basis before you actually learned the Treylon Burks injury of the LCL? And I'll send you to the chat because I'm very curious to see what people were doing, because it was yesterday for me was a calm day. I was like, oh, okay, Sam's up in Minnesota. He's got practice handled. I know all that. Had some morning meetings, got done with that, ran some midday errands, came back, had another meeting in the afternoon, and then boom, all hell breaks loose. So go to the chat on a 1 through 10 basis. What was the level of freak out from a lot of Titans fans?
Ashley's at a 9. We've got an 8. We've got Luman at a 9.9. Mine 6 from Eric, a 9 from Clayton, 10 from Willie, 10 from Will, 10 from Steven, 10 from Major Keys, and 11 from Titans Kyle, 9.5 from Orlando. We've got another 11, another 9, another 9, another 10, 10, 10, 10. Jeff is only at a 1, but he's a Colts fan. So he was at a 1 for the Colts, which is probably a 10 for the Titans. A 7 from Tighten Up, a 10 from Stephen King, a 10 from Joseph and IR Hoshi and Xavier and Jaron and Bald and Bearded and Eddie. Kaon was at a 7. We have a 4 from Ken, a 10 from Daniel and Deshaun, who had already quit the season. Deshaun, that's fair enough. That's sports fans in a nutshell right there.
Yeah.
But don't even wait for the diagnosis. Season over. 8.6, 5, 2, 10, 2, 8, not again, 10 plus, 9, 9, 10. We're getting full freakouts here, Austin. We are getting 9s, 9.5s, and 10s. Low ends are like these 5s and 4s right here from Maserati Mac. But so you said it was a calm day for you
until it wasn't.
And then you dealt with the whirlwind of meeting plus Treylon Burks is hurt all at the same time. So where did your freak out level go?
So I'll say I'll kind of go even more behind the curtain. So I was literally about to start cooking lunch. I had my AirPods in. I had Blaine and Mickey in my ears after my errands. And I hear Mickey go, "Oh, Lucas just told me something in my ear and it's not good." And I was like, "What?" And then immediately phone call. And so like Blaine and Mickey went off and my phone started ringing in my ears. And I didn't have a chance to like process what Mickey was saying. But I knew
this is your meeting phone call.
No, this is just random phone call. Like I was getting ready for like lunch cooking and phone call, boom. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? So I take this phone call and glance over to Twitter and I see everybody's tweets, including yours, of Treylon Burks down, injured, not good. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Oh no. And I'm freaking out and I'm like, I have to call you back. And so I get off the phone, start doing some things, start organizing content and reaction and all this type of stuff. And so what was my level of freak out? Because there was a solid 30 minutes or so or an hour with no video. And that level of freak out was very high. The video comes out and I think I calmed a little bit with the video because I felt that I didn't think ACL, and I tweeted this out there, that with his tumbling, stumbling, all of that, it's very easy for a lot of body weight and force to come down goofy on a leg while you're doing that and for something to buckle in the knee. And so is that ACL? I was kind of thinking meniscus. You texted us about the back of the calf pain, and I immediately thought that could be ACL because front of knee, back of knee pain is ACL that I've experienced. But that also could be meniscus. And so I'm, hoping for not the worst. So my official level of freak out, 8.5, 8.5, because I got to the point too, where I was just like, damn, Treylon Burks has been really fun to watch this summer. And I want to keep watching him and I don't want this to happen. But it was a pretty high level of freak out for me. So 8.5.
Yeah. So I'd also like to know how much, I tried my best not to be too panic and in the moment, but when the injury happened, I didn't really think it was that serious until I saw Treylon's reaction to his own injury. Because you can see guys a lot of the time, they know when something's wrong. They know when something's messed up. And seeing his level of frustration and the immediate serious concern that a lot of the Titans players had was kind of when I went, that's not good. Very rarely do you see a guy go down with a knee-ish injury and have to get carted off, not putting any weight on his leg, and have it not be at least a significant, 6 to 8 week sort of absence. And so even if it wasn't an ACL or something that ended Treylon's season, my immediate thought was he's going to miss some significant time, and the Titans can't afford to go significant time, especially with the hardest part of their schedule early, without Treylon Burks.
Yep.
The reason they needed to add DeAndre Hopkins was so they could have 2 wide receivers that freed each other up to have one-on-one coverages, and for Treylon specifically to beat man coverages down the field and give the Titans a big playability through the air. And so with him potentially not in the fold, it felt like disaster for a little bit. So, I mean, I'll say 7 because
7?
I never really thought, okay, this is an ACL. Okay, this is a season-ending thing. But I had a hard time, and we kept walking back and forth, me and Teron Davenport and Gentriests from the Tennessean.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of talking about potential options, and we're just saying, how is it possible that he doesn't miss 6 to 8 weeks when you go down like that? And you start talking about, okay, so he misses 2 or 3 weeks with recovery. Then he needs to practice and ramp back up for 2 or 3 weeks. And if he doesn't come back till week 6, the Titans are in trouble. Yeah. So, that's kind of what we kept saying. And so I was at a 7 feeling like it's not season ending, but this isn't good. And I feel like the news from Ian Rappaport was better than I anticipated it being.
Yeah, so if I was an 8.5 during this whole firestorm of like, I was like my mind bouncing around of going through those things that you just mentioned of how, DeAndre Hopkins is great, but Treylon Burks, I think, makes DeAndre Hopkins better, just like D-Hop makes Burks better.
And I said this to somebody on the sideline. I think I was talking to Paul.
Yeah.
Where I said, maybe this is a hot take. I think the Titans need Treylon Burks more than they need DeAndre Hopkins this year.
I mean, pocket that, right? That for more. Pocket that for more conversation, because I definitely want to dive into that. But I feel like after the Rappaport thing, this is still significant, and we'll learn more because again, I'll throw this up on the screen because we do have this coming up later this morning at 11:30 a.m. Central. That is the Doc Talk segment with the Bone and Joint Institute. So that's 11:30 a.m. Central on these same channels, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We will go live, and Sam and I will talk to Dave Kempfert, the lead physical therapist, because the good thing is it doesn't sound like a surgery or anything is needed. So now we've got a lead physical therapist that can talk through what is the LCL sprain and how can a wide receiver who has a big, powerful, explosive body like Treylon Burks get back and not mess up too much and still be a big impact. Because I've loved watching Treylon Burks' his development over the last summer or so. And Xavier says, Bone and Joint Institute hasn't failed us yet.
They don't.
Have not.
You'll learn something every single time the Bone and Joint Institute hops on here.
So good. And that's an amazing partnership, and we love it. And Lindsay was one of my first messages after I got, Bryce and Jake and Sam and Adam Holt and Evan and Zach Reagan and all of our other content people going. I had to text Lindsay at the Bone and Joint Institute, say, hey, who can we talk to tomorrow morning? And let's keep an eye on this thing. And so that's coming up at 11:30. So I do want to ask this though. Is this partially my fault? Is this partially my fault?
A lot of people are saying.
Yes. So another peel back behind the curtain. Tuesday afternoon, I get asked to go on the Tighten Up podcast with our guys, Jack Gentry and Austin Huff. And so we're just going through, regular podcast, Titans talk, throwing in some Brentwood Bruins talk with my guy Huff. And then all of a sudden, Huff asked me a question that I think, frankly, was unfair for him to ask me, but is this partially my fault? We can all judge this.
The past 2 seasons have tainted my outlook on really any hope that I have for the Titans because, look, do I think Tannehill's going to be great this year? Yeah. Do I think he's going to stay healthy? I don't know. Derrick Henry, same thing. Is there any optimism towards the Titans staying any healthier than they have in the past 2 years? Because 1 year, that's an offspring. 2 years, that's starting to become a trend.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what to expect going into this 3rd year.
I don't want to say too much because have you guys heard of a practice injury that's happened so far this camp?
Oh, geez.
Not really.
Now we have to knock on wood so bad.
But seriously, right?
No,
Yeah.
it's been pretty clean up to this point.
OJ, the undrafted rookie tackle, he got hurt in a practice in the rain. And then you had some guys banged up in that game against the Bears. The one defensive lineman who was not going to make the roster went on IR. He's out for the year. There's some others, but there really hasn't been anything.
Oh man, this is
You
going
asked me
to
the
be,
question.
I know, but I just know how this is going to go. This is going to be clipped. Like, wow, Tighten Up podcast jinxes the Titans. We're going to get a plethora of injuries now.
Would it really be a jinx though if they're coming off two of the most like
Wouldn't be a
gruesome
jinx.
seasons in
It
NFL
would be
history?
be par for the course.
Exactly. I don't think we have that much power anyways.
What a well-edited video, by the
I know.
way. Like,
Yeah, shout out Austin Huff. Super talented. No, so look, I think this is more Austin Huff's fault than Austin Stanley's fault because I just answered the question that I was asked. And that was literally 22 hours before Treylon Burks goes down at practice. But was I wrong when I said it on Tuesday afternoon, Sam? No. Like, that was exactly what the situation was. And I was asked the question and I answered it honestly. And then Treylon Burks goes down. Luckily, it's just an LCL sprain from Ian Rappaport that we'll talk about later on. So, not my fault. It's more Huff, right? Everybody agrees it's more Huff's fault than me.
well, first of all, the music from Curb Your Enthusiasm is like an all-timer. We threw it in our our TikTok last week when we were talking to Titans players.
Yep.
It's so funny. Yeah, it plays all the time. But is it more your fault or more Huff's fault? People are gonna blame you.
Yes.
They're gonna blame you. I don't think it's your fault. I don't. I don't blame anybody. We'll get into that. I think this whole, you jinxed it thing, silly. But I've been on Tighten Up podcast. I know what Austin Huff is doing over there. He's a little instigator. He's trying to find, whatever he can. And he remembers these clips and he takes mental notes and then he'll bring it back and burn you on social media.
Oh, he literally like planned that whole thing in live time. Says, there's going to be a clip. He's like, they're going to clip this and say that
they're going to clip it. No,
like, who is they? They is
it.
you. They is you, Huff. We all know what you're doing there. So look, funny. Now that we know Treylon Burks is just going to be a month-ish, funny. But I will say, Sam, people did not take this very lightly yesterday on social media. There was some nasty messages on the Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook of people really going at us for how bad this was. And we don't have any control over something happening several states away from us in Minnesota.
Which is it's funny to me. Like, I love you getting ripped for jinxing it. I think that's funny. I think it comes with the territory on these things. But if it's a serious comment and you seriously believe that Austin's comment is why Treylon Burks got hurt, we're gonna need to dial it back a little bit. We're gonna need to do some what am I looking for here?
Self-evaluation.
Some introspection. We got to start, evaluating where we're at if that's what we're putting a lot of stock in here. So all for the ironic and sort of satirical ripping of Austin being at fault for Treylon's injury. But if we're getting serious with it, it's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, there was some mean things. There were some people like literally saying like, how does this podcast not get fired yet? Like there was somebody that said that there. Eric, I remember the show where Sam had mentioned if Burks gets injured, the chat started freaking out. I blame Sam.
Which is true. I'll tell and this is part of why I'm sitting here coming to your defense as like the jinx, right? Because our job is to talk about the Titans. Our job is to evaluate what's going on with the Titans and what certain scenarios would look like if they happen with the Titans. And we have to be able to talk about those scenarios without being directly responsible for what goes on the practice field or, with the injury. So, I talked about it. I talked about how the Titans were healthy. And I talked about, hey, there's still one Treylon Burks injury away from all hell breaking loose. And hey, I'm not, I was going to say something else, but I'm not going to do. That's in bad taste considering we're just talking about jinxing stuff, and I know the chat will rip me a new one if I say what I was about to say.
Vrabel is going to shut down A to Z. Mike Vrabel wishes he could probably shut down almost every media outlet because of our situational jinxing or whatever. It's Vrabel definitely would wish we would just shut the hell up, I think. All right, but let's have a real football conversation, because I do think there is a significant impact that this has over the Titans next month or so. So I'm going to ask you this question. How does this LCL sprain from Burks impact the Titans next month? But first, let me tell you guys all about our friends at Krebs Kubota. Krebs Kubota, Middle Tennessee's preferred equipment provider and an elite Kubota dealer with 3 amazing locations in Nashville, in Murfreesboro, Franklin, and Columbia. KrebsKubota.com is where to go. If you've got stuff and you need projects, if you got projects around the house, you have to take care of them, Krebs Kubota is the place to turn to, because relationships is everything with the Kubota family and with the Krebs family as well. You get the Kubota equipment that's the top of the line equipment when it comes to performance and when it comes to their service and their warranties as well. Krebs family, they've been doing it for 18 years in Middle Tennessee. They've got those deep connections and relationships to make sure they provide you with everything you need for your projects around your property. So check them out online at KrebsKubota.com, or their 3 incredible locations in Columbia, Murfreesboro, and in Franklin at KrebsKubota.com.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. It's a second chance to win big, even if your first wager loses, because you've used the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Up to $1,000 back in your account in the form of a bonus bet and another shot at that first wager. So get with the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM.com, and the BetMGM app.
All right, so Sam, Treylon Burks, according to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, expected to be out roughly a month. Roughly a month there, with the report of an LCL sprain. A solid result considering the scare that we all talked about in the Bone and Joint Institute Doc Talk segment coming up at 11:30 a.m. Central. So remind you guys of all that here on these same channels. But Sam, what do you think the impact is this on the Titans over the next month? Because if we're talking 3 weeks is what Rappaport's saying, 3 weeks from today is Thursday preparing for the Saints. So that tells you kind of where we're at. And we'll talk with Dave Kemfert of the Bone and Joint Institute there. So you've got, 2 weeks from now, the 53-man roster is set. So how do you think this impacts the Titans' next 3 to 4 weeks?
Well, I'm interested in hearing, in our Doc Talk later today about, timeline stuff. At this point, quite honestly, I would be surprised if Treylon's on the field week 1. I just don't think this is a situation that's worth rushing a guy back from injury, especially when you start talking about an LCL, like a ligament in the knee. And like, this is not, a sprained ankle. This is not a cracked rib or whatever. This is something that can have some serious long-term effects on Treylon's season and career if not handled appropriately. So, yeah, I mean, here's the schedule. Week 1, I'm ready to say like that Treylon probably won't be out there. I think you start to ask like, well, when can he get back in this week 2, week 3 area, with some time to get back up to speed in order to be what the Titans need him to be. So how does it affect them? Well, I think for one, they're going to have to, at least in the games that he doesn't play in, win football games a different way and win football games more like they won football games in 2022 instead of maybe how they would have wanted to in 2023. They're going to have to rely on Derrick Henry a lot more. They're going to have to stick with their run first mentality a lot more. And a couple guys are going to have to step up. I think that's Tajay Spears, Chigakonkwo, Kyle Phillips are the first 3 that come to mind as these pass catchers in the Titans offense that you thought would get some sort of, target share and opportunity as playmakers, but were kind of options 3, 4, and 5 for Ryan Tannehill. Well, DeAndre Hopkins can't be the only target. And so some of these guys, multiple of these guys, are going to have an increased role and really step up to the plate to offset, whatever time Treylon is going to miss. So I think those are the two ways it affects them most is who's going to step up of that group and can that group step up? And then two, I think you have to adjust what you're trying to do a little bit more. You can't run the same things with DeAndre Hopkins and Chris Moore, or DeAndre Hopkins and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine that you could with DeAndre Hopkins and Treylon Burks as your top two receivers.
Yeah. So the injury 25 days after the injury occurred is Titans at Saints week 1. Titans are 3-point underdog. I've already got money on Titans +3. So does that put my bet in jeopardy? Yeah, I feel that way a little bit. That was one of the things swirling in my mind throughout yesterday afternoon. But so 25 days is week 1, which means 32 days is week 2, the home opener against the LA Chargers. And I kind of agree with what you're saying of the Saints is a game that is very much winnable. And the schedule, we know the first 6
weeks. And
it's
winnable without Treylon Burks.
I would agree. It's in the first 6 weeks we know is a gauntlet. And here's the other thing is I think we all know AFC games greater than NFC games when it comes to playoff tiebreakers and everything else that goes into it. And you get 5 AFC games before the bye week after the 1 NFC game. So if you can get away with not having to play Burks and give him an extra week of rest or recovery or rehab or whatever it is to get reacclimated, then I think that's something that's worth considering, especially because the Saints are not going to have Alvin Kamara. I believe they missed out on the Kareem Hunt situation and Dalvin Cook. So the Saints are in a weird spot. They've got Derek Carr, new situation offensively. Is Michael Thomas going to play? I feel like he hasn't played since pre-COVID. I don't know. So there's opportunity for the Titans to win that. So here's what I do think I think it ends one thing for me. And we've talked about this. I've talked about this. I've been trying to find a way.
I already know where you're going with this.
I've been trying to find a way for Nick Westbrook-Ikhine to not be needed on this team. I've been trying to find a way to cut Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Sean Gill nailed it. It means NWI and potentially an extra wide receiver locks to make the team.
Yeah.
I do think that this Treylon Burks injury this week ends any possibility of the NWI not being a roster lock.
He was already a roster
No,
lock.
he wasn't a lock. I think you could say easily he had a head and shoulders lead above anybody else for wide receiver spot 5. But there was the door open for somebody else to come take it from him. Now with this injury, the door's shut. NWI is on the roster. Does this mean they keep a 6th receiver? I think, yeah, that makes sense too, because you don't necessarily want to go into week 1 with only 4 receivers on the roster that would all need to be active. And you're talking about Hopkins, your slot guy, and Phillips, and 2 guys who will mainly be special teamers playing a lot of snaps there. So I think you would need that 5th receiver active if Burks is not one of them.
Yeah, if Burks is not back, I do think you keep that 6th guy. And maybe it is somebody like Colton Dowell who, Reggie Roberson maybe, who makes this team. But then you think you can get back onto the practice squad week 2 or week 3 when Treylon's back healthy and back active. I'm not sure. But I think, you've got Hopkins, Phillips, Moore, and Westbrook-Ikhine locked up to be on this team. But I think you have to be searching for a 5th guy right now, at least to be an active body for that week 1 game, because you don't want to run into the situation the Titans had in Philadelphia last year, which is you went from 4 healthy wide receivers to 3 healthy wide receivers. And that's difficult when you only have 3 healthy wide receivers playing a game. You don't know who might get banged up mid game. So Harrison, Roberson, Dowell, I think are all contenders.
Does this save Racy's? I mean,
I don't think so.
Because Racy, of the receivers we're talking about that might have a new opportunity, Racy McMath is most like Burks as a receiver from a stylistic standpoint.
Fair.
I'm not talking about from talent. I'm talking about from a role,
fair.
right?
Big size, big play threat, like as a guy who's going to run downfield. Marvin wants to know if I'm sleeping on Kearis Jackson. I don't think Kearis Jackson is as good as Titans fans want to believe he is.
Okay.
I have been pretty down on him as far as I think Trayshawn Harrison and Reggie Roberson are substantially above substantially above Kiaris Jackson for contender to make the roster.
Okay. I think
That's my
Kiaris is
opinion of it.
interesting. I think Kiaris has an opportunity to be neck and neck with those guys. I think he's a little bit more physical than Roberson or Roberts. Damn it. That's going to drive me insane.
I also don't think he's as good of a special teamer as Reggie is, or, Colton Dowell is. So I think that hurts him too. He was on punt return for a little bit and he's no longer on punt return. And
Kiaris?
so, yeah. So
he was on kick return.
He was on kick return.
And if your kick returner right now is Tajay Spears, you probably don't want Tajay Spears returning too many kicks.
I think Julius Chestnut's a contender to get kick return. I think
sure. There's all of these things, right? So I think the main point is Treylon Burks does create other opportunities for receivers to make their case on this roster to start the season at least. And so
I'd be interested in seeing too, like, does this get somebody like Reggie Roberson on the roster? And does it, like, if you feel like he's somebody who, on the field, by the way, has maybe been the most productive of any of these depth guys as a receiving threat and been the best receiver in terms of making plays and live opportunities. If you feel like he's at least, capable as a wide receiver, how much are you looking for that as your guy that's replacing Treylon Burks? And is he somebody who gets out there and gets some opportunities with the offense? Because, maybe he's your fourth best option as a wide receiver, but you need that guy in week one. So I think this is not good for, but like, I think this might be open a door for Reggie
opportunistic for.
Yeah.
Reggie. So Eric asked, is Chris Moore getting cut? No, Chris Moore's not going to get cut. Chris Moore's on this team. But I do think, along with what you were saying there about the receiver situation, Chris Moore and NWI are your two best special teamers in that room. And I'm not talking about returner. Like, whenever we're talking about how can you help on teams, it's not about being a return man. It's about being able to chase and tackle and protect
cover
and
kick.
Cover. Yeah. And so Chris Moore and NWI, the best wide receivers at teams. And so if Reggie Roberson is that next guy because Burks is out, maybe it's because he's a wide receiver option while Chris Moore and NWI might need a blow.
Well, Reggie Roberson had some kick return experience at SMU. They've used him back there a little bit so far. And maybe he's the wide receiver beyond. And so it'll be interesting at least to see if they need to keep that sixth guy, what it is that they look for, because I think Colton Dowell is interesting as somebody who hasn't taken the best advantage of his opportunities. He's had a lot of trouble catching the football to me, but has also had big plays like yesterday where he gets open and makes big plays and is a very, very willing special teams tackler. And as a young rookie that was a 7th round draft pick who has some potential projectability, are the Titans wanting to keep him on the roster just to make sure they can keep him with the organization and not risk him getting scooped up by somebody? So I think Dowell and Reggie Roberson would be my two favorites right now. I think to get that last spot, if there is another one added with Treylon missing some time, I don't know. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is interesting. No doubt about that. All right. A to Z Sports here live on this Thursday. Again, Bone and Joint Doc Talk coming up later on this morning, 11:30 a.m. Central Time. But there were conflicting opinions about who won joint practice versus the Titans and the Vikings yesterday. So we're going to get to that. We'll play a video. I want to get Sam's perspective on what he thought overall outside of Treylon Burks there. So those conflicting opinions about who won day one of joint practices in Minnesota. But first, Farm Bureau Health Plans. There's no conflict here. Farm Bureau Health Plans can help save you money and get you better health coverage. That's the best of both worlds. It happened to Zach Bingham. He's saved 20% on his health coverage and gotten better rates and better coverage because he's got a better dental plan. He has a better vision plan for his contact situation. He's got health coverage provided to him as an entrepreneur, self-employed like I am. It's tough for go out there and find a good, fair health plan. And Zach was able to make that happen with Farm Bureau Health Plans. They've been helping out Tennesseans for over 75 years in every type of situation, whether it's Medicare for the senior citizens in your life, or maybe it's the young professional. Maybe you got a son or daughter that's like 24, 25 years old, and you're like, get the heck off my health coverage and go get your own. Well, point them in the direction of Farm Bureau Health Plans, or maybe you're that son or daughter that's about to get kicked the heck off your parents' plan. Farm Bureau Health Plans is where to go. FBHP.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. You place that wager with that bonus code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app, and even if your wager loses, you get your money back and a second chance to win big. That's why they're the king of sportsbooks, and every game means more with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
Yep, visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions subject to qualifications, eligible requirements. First online real money wager. Only rewards issued with knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem game sport, call Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789. So Sam, I mentioned conflicting reports on who won Titans practice. Let's go to the same guy that had the Treylon Burks practice injury, who is a Vikings fan, YouTuber, I believe, was up there in the stands, and Leighton Glodock, I believe is how you pronounce his name, had his perspective on what happened at the Vikings facility versus the Titans and the Vikings.
The Minnesota Vikings just got embarrassed by the Tennessee Titans in their first joint practice. The Titans came out with a lot of energy right away. Malik Willis had this nice pass to a wide open Colton Dowell to get the Titans offense off to a hot start. On the other field, the Titans defense was causing a lot of havoc. So much so that Justin Jefferson even dropped this gimme of a pass. Tannehill hit Treylon Burks on this beautiful deep ball, but unfortunately, Treylon came up hobbling and didn't return to practice after. The Titans continued to work on defense, including this interception that they got right after picking off Kirk Cousins. The highlight of the Vikings day was this 90-plus yard punt from Ryan Wright. This is actually pretty crazy. I know it is only a joint practice, but the Titans looked good and the Vikings did not.
So outside of mispronouncing Colton Dowell and Treylon Burks,
Colton Dowell.
Look, there's unfamiliarity with names from other teams who whatever that.
Yeah,
but
fair.
What I do think it is interesting to see what a Vikings perspective is of that, and so was curious, Sam, your opinion. How does that line up with what you saw? Because the Titans embarrassed the Vikings is a strong take. And I know there's multiple fields, a lot happening, and looked like he was sitting up in a grandstand that had a view of everything. You're obviously in a different situation, having to spend a lot of time on Treylon Burks' reaction and everything. So how does your opinion compare to what Leighton said there?
Yeah, I mean, so I think people need to understand, too, what practice is like for those of us that are there. And, one of the negatives of it being a road joint practice is that I'm here alone and I don't have you or Buck Rising out here to kind of divide and conquer, right? That's something that we like to do at A to Z Sports a lot of the time, especially down in Nashville. And it's what we're going to do when New England comes to town for joint practices, because you've got two fields during joint practice. One field is Titans offense versus Vikings defense. One field is Vikings offense versus Titans defense. And it's impossible to pay attention to both at the same time. So you have to kind of choose where your attention's going to go. Luckily, yesterday I was paying attention to the Titans offense, and Treylon Burks got hurt, and that's where the most significant story of the day came, was for the Titans offense. Typically, we'd have one of us doing we'd split it up. That way we were getting the full idea. I don't agree with the idea that the Titans embarrassed the Vikings during practice. I think that's a pretty silly notion from what we saw. I don't think it was all bad or all good for the Titans. And frankly, I didn't feel like the offensive starters had a very good day. I've seen people taking that clip and running with it on Twitter and saying, "Oh, Titans media has been so negative," but at the end of the day, that was a Vikings fan with his perspective on what he saw from the Vikings. So here's what I would say. The Titans defense was good. Roger McCreary intercepted Kirk Cousins on the second play of 2-minute drill. Rashad Weaver had that interception of Nick Mullins on the second play of 2-minute drill. They were all over the ball. They created a lot of turnovers and really bottled up Justin Jefferson. So the Titans defense was very good. Ryan Tannehill and the Titans offensive starters didn't really get much going. Honestly, the only play Ryan Tannehill and the Titans offensive starters hit was the deep ball to Treylon, in which Treylon got hurt. Other than that, run game was pretty bottled up. A lot of incomplete passes, very minimal gains when they were throwing the ball. And you have to consider, everybody needs to consider this, it was like 25-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
Throwing the ball was damn near impossible. Like, it was so tough for the offense. And it makes sense that the defense for both teams probably got the better of the offense on both sides of the field. That makes a lot of sense. One-on-ones, a drill that you know as well as I do, Austin, designed for the wide receiver. Like, you should get open and catch a pass one-on-one with an entire football field to work and create space. Majority of the throws the Titans threw in one-on-ones went incomplete, either because the receiver got no separation or it was a bad throw. I did not feel like the Titans offense did much of anything besides Malik Willis, who I thought was the best quarterback on the field yesterday.
Woo!
And I'm interested in seeing how he does today. Malik looked decisive. Throwing through wind was pretty accurate. What came out in 7-on-7, 4 for 4, including that deep ball to Dowell that you saw in that video from the Titans, from the Vikings fan. He came out in team period. Ryan Tannehill comes out in team period with the ones, and it's like run that stopped, pressure, and he has to spike it down, a short gain. There wasn't a ton there. Malik comes out. It's a handoff to Spears, who gets a big gain on the left side. 2 quick completions for first downs to Harrison and Kiaris Jackson. And you just saw Malik operating at the line of scrimmage with a lot of confidence, continuing the momentum from Chicago, quick throws. And I talked to him after practice. I said, Malik, well, like what goes into those quick throws? Like, is that just your mental clock being sped up this year? And he said, well, it's actually specific to today. I recognized early they were bringing a lot of pressure. And so I knew going into these snaps, all right, take the first option you have. And that's what he did. They ran a 2-minute drill, and I think he completed each of his first 4 passes, taking them down into Vikings territory. And then the drive got killed. There was like a 1:10. They had 1 timeout. They had already used their timeout. He got sacked. It killed the drive. And they were going against the wind into the 25-mile-an-hour wind. But overall, I thought Malik looked pretty good. So that was the silver lining and the positive for the Titans offense. I don't think it's fair to say the Titans won, the Vikings won. I think the defense won the day, large in part, and Malik Willis looked good in the meantime.
All right, so I want to get to more on that because I did see Jim Wyatt, excuse me, had a really good breakdown of both Titans quarterbacks, Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis. So we'll get to some of that, some more detail on Sam's opinion. Malik Willis looked like the best quarterback on the field yesterday between the Titans and the Vikings.
I didn't see too much Kirk Cousins, but I saw him get picked off, and I know Malik didn't do that. So
Titans defense had 3 interceptions on Vikings quarterbacks yesterday. But first, let me tell you guys about Aura, the app that's keeping me safe online, keeping Sam safe online too, because Aura protects you, which is awesome. And they get rid of data brokers that are consistently pestering you with spam calls and junk mail in your email, in your mailbox. And they also help check out your password management and protection, as well as credit and identity theft monitoring. And that I've been using Aura since April. So it's about 4 months at this point, and I've gotten less spam calls, robocalls, less junk mail, and less mail in my inbox and my email as well. And it took like 5 or 6 days for Aura to get rid of those data brokers that were selling my information to everybody pestering me. And we're going to give you a 2-week free trial with Aura services when you go to our link, aura.com/ATOZ, and sign up. 2 weeks free, which is a great deal to make your life a little bit less annoying with your cell phone and your email. So that's aura.com/ATOZ for a 2-week free trial with our sponsor, Aura.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win with the king of sportsbooks. A second chance to win big, even if your first wager loses. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up. It's BetMGM.com and the BetMGM app. Real quick, we got 25 likes on the show, guys. I know there's a lot of Malik Willis fans. in the show. I just told you good news about Malik. Let's drop a like for Music City Malik here and give some love to the show this morning. And then number 2, Austin, before we kind of transition here, Jason said, did Levis not play yesterday? And I do want to, preface this by saying the Titans did what they like to do in joint practices, which is Tannehill, Willis, Tannehill, Levis. So it was a majority of Ryan Tannehill and less of a even rotation. So Will got limited reps compared to what he normally would get. And to be fair, I missed he looked good in 7-on-7. I think he completed all 4 of his passes in 7-on-7. Will Levis did as well. They weren't quite as downfield big shots as Willis was taking, but he was at least efficient in that. And I did miss his 11-on-11 period early on because I was dealing with Treylon Burks' thing. So I don't know how Will did in that. I would have to ask somebody about that.
So
and then he did not get a 2-minute drill at the end. Only Tannehill and Willis got 2-minute drills.
Here's what Jim Wyatt has on TennesseeTitans.com. Levis didn't, and this is reading directly from Jimmy's report. Levis didn't have a whole lot of opportunities. He was 4 of 4 in 7-on-7 period, including a strike to receiver Reggie Roberson. Levis completed a short pass in a team period as well, but Tannehill and Willis led the days with the 1s and 2s respectively.
Yeah.
So Jimmy on Ryan Tannehill's day, energy picked up after a sloppy start in 1-on-1s and 7-on-7 when the offense had a few passes broken up. But Tannehill got in a groove after that on some short routes and screens. Tannehill went 7 of 9 in the first 7-on-7, followed it up with 7 of 9 in the first extended team 11-on-11 drill. Best pass of the day was the Burks injury play. He was 6 of 7 on the final 2-minute drill that failed to produce points. He was 20 of 25 in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 combined from Jim Wyatt. Only threw 1 ball away due to quick pressure from the Vikings and had 1 batted down at the line of scrimmage. So 3 balls fell to the turf after a throwaway and a bat down of Tannehill.
Yeah, I would. That's great stuff by Jimmy getting every rep and knowing, it's hard. It's fast paced out there.
Yeah.
I would say to Titans fans out there, by the way, Dylan, the mic is better audio.
And he is in a hotel room.
I am in a hotel room. But the mic is better audio. But
hotel rooms echo.
I would say to Titans fans out there, I wouldn't read so much into completion percentage during these drills. Ryan Tannehill did complete a lot of passes, but a lot of them are checkdowns or balls that he threw after a while after probably a coverage sack in real time, especially in 7-on-7. If you're not able to get the ball out quickly, is that really a win for the offense on a rep? So I don't think Ryan Tannehill was bad. He certainly, I think Jim's report is accurate, picked it up late. Early on, it was bad. That first 7-on-7 was bad, and the 1-on-1s were horrific. Dealing with the wind, it was bad. No other way to put it. And then I think it picked up late where there was some more completions, more efficient passing, just not a whole lot of big gains. I mean, it was a lot of checkdowns, a lot of screens and short stuff, which is fine. You take what the defense gives you. But that's why I say I think Malik was the best guy out there. It was second team defense going against him. Keep that in mind. Yeah. But I think Malik had the most completions that were actually pushing the football down the field and significant offensive wins.
Yeah, for sure. And then, whenever there's wind like that, it's tougher. But here's what Jimmy says about Malik. I thought quarterback Malik Willis had a really good day, completed all 4 of his passes in 7-on-7, including a touchdown strike to rookie Colton Dowell that was wide open. We saw that earlier in that video. Completed his next 2 passes, and here's where I might have missed a throw or two after the Burks injury is what Jimmy says. But noticed Willis was locked in. I don't think I realized how hot Willis was until I started tallying up his notes afterwards, because Jim Wyatt's count 13 of 14 on the day.
Yep.
And hit Kiaris Jackson on a deep ball too.
Yep. I mean, that's what it was. And I think that was the reaction from all of us. It was okay, nice little 4 for 4 from Malik, good rep there. And then you're like, oh, okay, nice little 11-on-11 from Malik there. And then he starts kind of letting it rip in the 2-minute drill at the end. And I think I looked at Tehran and I said, Has Malik thrown an incompletion yet today? Like, I don't remember seeing a ball hit the turf from Malik.
Mhm.
And we started to realize, okay, yeah, he's doing his thing here. And given the conditions, really impressive stuff.
Yep, for sure. So, look, interesting notes. Sam will be back out there on the practice field later today. Again, we do have the Bone and Joint Institute Doc Talk segment coming up later on this morning at 11:30 Central Time. So just creeping up here on us with Dave Kempfert of the Bone and Joint Institute, the lead physical therapist, to talk about the Treylon Burks LCL sprain. So we'll get to that. But Sam, I want to know what you've been doing as Twin City Sam the last couple of nights, because you're just up there rolling solo for A to Z Sports. There is some Titans media up there with you, but I want to know Twin City Sam's Twin City report, because the Magic Bucket is in Nashville and not at my house. The Magic Bucket is at your place. So Twin City Sam and his Twin City report here. But first, want to thank Wilson County Hyundai for making all of our industry topics possible. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where you should turn. Make them a part of your new car buying process because they are fantastic. Payne Bone and his team that he's built in Lebanon has done a great job over the last several decades of helping Middle Tennesseans out find their new ride. And that's WilsonCountyHyundai.com in Lebanon. Once again, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So Sam, your Twin City Sam, Twin City report. How do you feel about Minneapolis? Is this your first time in this town?
Yeah, so this isn't my first time
Okay.
in Minneapolis. It's really the first time I've gotten to experience it, though, a little bit. I came maybe when I was 18, 19. It was a bit ago, but I got mono while I was here.
Ugh.
Yeah, and then I was down for 3 weeks after that. So it was I got 1.5 days in Minneapolis before I got mono and I went down. I saw Mall of America, so that was sweet, but that's basically all I got to do. I didn't get to check out the baseball, go check out some baseball at Target Field. I did get to do that on Tuesday after I got in. I got, settled into my hotel and I was like, well, I need something to do tonight. Well, there's a Twins game on. So I went to Facebook, found a ticket, got a ticket. And I Ubered over to Target Field and hung out and, had a great time. It was $1 hot dog day.
Okay.
So bonus points. So I'd give Target Field a 7.9. I originally gave it an 8.4, but I think I gave 0.5 for it being $1 hot dog day and me just being happy about sitting there with a Corona Extra and a $1 hot dog, with my feet kicked up down the first baseline. Very unique ballpark. Had a good time. Met up with Teron Davenport at the game. We got to watch some baseball, take it in together. It was a good time on Tuesday night. So big win there for Minneapolis and enemy territory for me as a White Sox fan. But unfortunately, did enjoy the game. And I try and anytime I go to a baseball game, I try and see something different. And there were some fun things that happened in that Twins game on Tuesday night.
So if Target Field in Minnesota is a 7.9,
yeah,
what's the White Sox stadium for you? Because that's your home field, right?
Yeah, probably a 6.9 or a 7.1. The White Sox is very cookie cutter, excellent food, best food in baseball at the White Sox stadium. Not, you say that like it's a homer take. Read the magazines. The White Sox are known for their food.
Read the magazines, everybody. The White Sox have the best food. The magazines.
You go to Food Network, best food baseball ballparks. White Sox are going to be number one. That's a guarantee. They have the best food in the game. The ballpark is very generic. It's very boring. There's not a ton to do. So it's very average. I'd give it right at an even 7.1. But the Twins is definitely above average. It's definitely maybe in that top 12 to 10 range in the league, right at a 7.9 is what I'm giving it. Unique vibe.
Okay.
Top 3 MLB stadiums for Jacob Ray. This is interesting.
No, we don't have time for this.
Yeah, that's
not
true.
Today.
Not today. I haven't been to all of them either. Last night we
Twin City Sam report.
Last night went to, I think it was, I'm trying to remember the name of this place, Woodfire Grill, something like that. Paul Kaharski sent me a recommendation for dinner. Had a little bit of a Titans media dinner. Paul Kaharski, Nick Suss, and I went to Woodfire Grill, whatever it was. I got a linguine with shrimp and some chicken. I'd give it The food was pretty nice. It was like an 8-1 linguine, to be honest with you. 8-1 linguine. Vibe of the place, probably like a 7-6. Just kind of like your average.
That's pretty
like
good though.
Yeah,
That's pretty high.
it was slightly above average, like average steakhouse. Slightly,
Okay.
but like the food was 8-1, and my linguine at least was. But I like a nice pesto sauce in just about anything. So, that was good. So far, Minneapolis, good experience. Titans, this is a good one. Vikings practice facility, 9.6. 9.6. Best practice facility I've ever seen. They have a stadium just for the fans to play football in, like in practice. Like
Yeah.
a stadium, like a press box. It's massive what they've got going on over there in Minnesota. So there's levels to this whole practice facility thing, going from St. Thomas Sports Park to what the Vikings have up here in Eagan, Minnesota. So that was a standout for me. We'll see where I end up tonight. I've got a friend from college that lives in the area. Him and I are going to probably check out some dinner, maybe head back to Mall of America. There's a good Wahlburgers in the Mall of America. So might go mess up some Wahlburgers tonight. We'll see. Yeah,
make it a good
City
trip.
Sam's all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm flexible here.
I like it. Great report here, Sam. All right, you got one more day of joint practices. We'll talk about everything that happens tomorrow as well. What's up?
No, 8.1 on a scale of 10. 8.1. Not A. I know what A1 is. Come on now.
Which you shouldn't be using.
A1?
No.
I use it sometimes.
Shouldn't be using that.
I'm like,
you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
The new A1 is S tier. I just say it's S tier. It's like, yeah.
All right, Sam. We got practice coming up later today, and also the Doc Talk segment, the Bone and Joint Institute. Doc Talk about Treylon Burks and his LCL sprain. Excuse me. So we'll get to that 11:30 a.m. Central. But make sure you do like the show on your way out. Hit that thumbs up button because there's always way more people watching that have actually hit that thumbs up. So we need you guys to do that for us. That would be fantastic. Sam will have more content coming out after practice and during practice, honestly, for Titans Vikings Day 2. We'll see you guys at 11:30 for Doc Talk. Appreciate it as always.